energy and vibration that you are bringing to your business determines everything. Abundance is an inside job, and your intuition is the key to unlocking it all. Hello and welcome. I'm Rebecca Davison, founder of the Intuitive Life Academy, the leading place to develop your intuitive and psychic gifts. As an ascension guide and light leader, I'm committed to bringing you all the latest tools, developments, and the neuroscience available when it comes to the art of effortless manifestation. This show is for lightworkers and for those who identify that your intuition is your greatest guide to bring you happiness, expansion, and money. With my corporate banking background, you'll receive practical advice along with all the energetic tools that you can apply in your life today. So if this resonates with you, let's jump into the world of abundance and learn what it takes to experience true freedom. Hello and welcome, folks. It's Rebecca Davison, intuition coach, founder of the Intuitive Life Academy. This is the Intuitive Abundance podcast, and today we are on episode 15. We're talking about the courage to follow your bliss. Now, if you are a new listener, you may not know that the original version of my business was actually called Find Your Bliss, findyourbliss.co.nz. It was my website, and that's why I chose that name for my business, because I wanted to experience that myself. But how do we do this? How do we make decisions that create more bliss for ourselves? How do we cultivate the courage to do that? And it can be one of those things that when you're experiencing it, it can feel easy to be experiencing your bliss because, of course, it's joyful. It feels great. But if you're on the other side of that or feeling separate from it, how do we actually go about aligning with that, cultivating the courage to be able to make those decisions that bring you more bliss and more joy? And why is this so important when it comes to manifesting? Manifesting in and of itself is really the process of creation, but we also know what it's like to be able to create something and not to feel joy. So this is why these two things, we want them to cross over. We want our manifestations to be joyful. But of course, the joy is in the process as well as the manifestation. And of course, we see this a lot when we have what we call destination addiction, where people go, when I get this, I will be happy. Or when I achieve this, I will feel good, or when I create this, I will be worthy. And this is literally shooting ourselves in the foot on so many levels, because of course, what happens if we don't achieve it? What happens if it doesn't come to pass? That can really, rip our self-worth to shreds, and it can put us in a very precarious and dangerous position in terms of really annihilating our ability to believe in ourselves. So when it comes to developing more courage to follow your joy, because that can sound like a big thing, right? To follow your bliss. It sounds very otherworldly and etheric and, like a spiritual quest. How do we bring that into our day-to-day experience? I think the first and foremost thing, and again, you'll see how this all interlinks, folks. It's all a common theme. It comes back to how are you feeling? How are you feeling in the first instance? I started with the first two ever podcasts of Intuitive Abundance. The first one was on your thoughts and the second one was on your feelings. And there's good reason for that because they determine so much in terms of your outcomes. So even starting to ask questions like, am I on a weekly basis, how much am I actually enjoying my life? Maybe you're not at bliss or joy just yet, and that's okay, right? Making it okay in the first instance. But this is why we start asking questions to start gaining more awareness. So maybe even just doing a snapshot of where you're at and asking yourself in the last week, How did I feel about that? Like if 1 was low and 10 was high in terms of like actually enjoying myself and feeling like things were going well, and maybe I was experiencing flow, which is where, I wasn't feeling stressed, I wasn't ruminating. On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you say you were at? And again, folks, the question we ask, this is not for the purpose of judging ourselves or beating ourselves up or making ourselves wrong. Is just simply to gain some awareness of where you are so you can start asking questions around where you want to go. So let's assume like it's 5 out of 10. So if you have a 5 out of 10, then you can start asking some questions like, well, what was good? What did I actually enjoy doing that made it a 5? How can I do more of that, perhaps? Or what was the other 50%? Where were you spending your time and you're like, right, this is a drag, or I'm not loving this, or I'm not enjoying this, or I'm doing stuff that makes me feel maybe disempowered, or you literally just hate it. Now, for some people, this can be a confronting question because maybe that 50% is their job, right? Like they're doing a job that they don't love because they're in the energy of I have to, because I have to do this to make money. Now, what you want to do is back up there in the first instance and realize that you made a choice to take that job once upon a time. Now, you may be a different person now from the person who actually said yes to the job, and that's okay. Remembering that you have another choice, right? There's lots of limitless resources available to you inside of yourself. You don't even have to go externally to be able to make a decision that serves you better. Like again, you might do the same thing for your job and go, what is it that I love about my job? Or what is it that they don't love? Can I change some of those things that I don't love and make them more to my liking? Or if not, am I going to actually look for another job? Or am I going to create a side hustle? Or am I going to spend time and energy focusing on something that I can do after work that really brings me joy, that may lead to an employment opportunity further on down the track? The possibilities are endless. But of course, this all starts with awareness, asking ourselves some questions, gaining more awareness of where we're at and what we're going to choose next. And even to ask yourself, what it's like for you in your life in terms of your happiness and your enjoyment. You can start asking yourself other questions. Maybe 50% of it is your job, but then maybe when you come home from work, you're not actually choosing to do things that actually make you feel good. It's just the chores. And I know this can be really common for a lot of people because they're like, well, those chores have to be done. Again, this comes back to a calibration of what's important. Like if you really don't love doing the laundry, cleaning the toilets, cleaning the house, vacuum cleaning, how can you make it that you get support with that without it costing over and above? There's always a way, right? Maybe you can do something for somebody else and that other person comes in and does cleaning. Maybe you babysit for somebody and they would happily come clean your house. Maybe you go clean somebody else's house and they would happily babysit your children. There's always a way if you use your creative imagination, but also too, because if you're spending your time doing something that you do not love, time, of course, is the resource that you never get back. You have to start asking yourself, well, how much in my life, how much am I actually living to my values? Maybe you're valuing freedom and spending time with your family, but when you do have free time, you're actually doing the housework. And I get it because there might be part of you that's going, well, I value my family's health. I have to live in a clean house for us to be healthy. Okay. But just starting to exercise your ability to go, how can we make this more fun? Like if you do clean, what would it take for everybody to do it for an hour on a Saturday morning instead of it taking you 3 hours? What's different ways that you can start using your creator ability to create outcomes in your life that actually serve you? And this is so important when it comes to manifesting money, because of course, when people are, especially in business, like if people are using their business as the vehicle to manifest abundance, like their main form of abundance. And of course, abundance can come in many and varied ways. It doesn't have to come just through your business if you're a business owner, or your job if you're employed. This is important, right? Because we need to remember that when we're in that space of being in our business, the way we do, the way we show up, the way we are being is paramount, right? That energy and vibration that you are bringing to your business determines everything. So if you are spending a lot of time in your business doing, like, essentially cleaning the toilet, right? Doing the things that you don't want to do, what do you think that does to your vibration? And I know, right, a lot of business owners listening to this would be like, but I have to, and again, this is where we want to question ourselves and go, do you really? How much is your time worth? Let's say it's worth $50 an hour, then you would be better served to pay somebody else $10 an hour to do something that you don't want to do, right? Or even 20, right? Because it's going to help your vibration. You're going to feel better. You're going to be able to be in your zone of genius, the thing that you love to do. You're going to feel free to do that. So you're going to have energy behind it, which is going to be more magnetizing and attracting to your clients with whatever it is that you're offering, rather than being the person who's sitting there going, oh, I'm doing all this stuff behind the scenes that I don't really want to do. And then I've got to put on this different hat and show up and be the presenter, etc., or be the person who's doing the offer, or, coming to my zone of genius and feeling a bit flat about it. So really starting to think, and this is not, like some people might listen to this and think, oh, well, that's a first world problem, or that sounds kind of elitist. No, it's about the choices that you're making. And it's about using your creative ability to spend more time doing what it is that you love and giving yourself permission to have that experience, rather than thinking that you have to do anything. And I've seen this a lot before, folks, where people, because they think that's the way you have to do something, they will end up arguing for their limitations. They will sit there black and blue swearing, right? It has to be done this way. What would it take to just question whether that's true? Is it really true that you have to do it this particular way? That you have to follow this protocol? That you have to do this to gain clients? There's always someone who's proving the rule incorrect, right? There's always somebody who's like running the vibration and just attracting clients, rather than thinking I have to go out there and chase or pursue it. There's always someone who's learning what it is to sit in their own worth and give themselves permission to calibrate to joy each and every day and make that a priority, rather than figuring out how to do a sales funnel and how to make all that stuff work. If you're not a tech genius, if you love tech, awesome. But if you love tech, you're probably not the front-facing person in your business, right? You're probably in the systems and in the back end. So starting to look at all these different things and kind of go, whereabouts am I not choosing joy where I could be? And even this comes down into the micro moments too, folks, because even when you are, let's say you're driving the kids to football practice, what state are you in energetically? Are you present? Are you there? Are you with the children? Are you excited for them and what they're going to be doing? Or are you sitting there thinking about all the other things that are going on for you? Are you kind of being pulled because of an emotional state that you haven't actually given time to sit down and be present to and say, wow, what's up with me? I really need to address this. How are you communicating honestly with your children and just saying, I'm so excited for you, kiddo, but I'm sorry, I'm feeling a little bit distracted right now. I have some stuff on my mind, but it's not about you, right? Choosing to be a conscious creator. And the conscious creator means that you're aware in every given moment, like in your micro moments in your life, because that is where your life is, moment to moment to moment. when you're washing the dishes, when you're cleaning the dog, when you're picking up the dry cleaning. You want to be aware in all those moments of what's up for you. How are you feeling? What's your vibe like? Are you expanded? Are you contracted? Are you feeling good? Are you telling yourself a story? Some of the stories are obvious because they're in the conscious mind running through your thought processes. Others are more subconscious because you're in it, right? And this often comes back to family situations where you've grown up in a family and you do things in a particular way. This is how we express love. This is how we do rituals. This is how we celebrate Christmas. This is what we do at birthday times. These are the strengths and weaknesses in regards to our family and our culture, etc. of our family. The dynamics, whether we're very expressive or whether we have learnt certain aspects in regards to maybe hold back or repress our expression. All of these go into, your makeup, and therefore you want to question yourself and keep on asking yourself questions so you can create greater awareness, so you can start asking yourself and going, even though, maybe my family's done this for years, does this actually make me happy? And having enough courage to give yourself permission to choose something else if it doesn't. And of course, the examples I've just used are purely that, examples, but starting to ask and gain more awareness so you can go, what does it take to feel like I can actually create more abundance without feeling like I have to be really stressed? And a lot of people buy into this belief. If I'm going to make more abundance, it's going to come with more responsibility. It's going to come with more stress. It's going to come with more drama. It's going to be more difficult. Is that true? And the trick answer to that really is only if you make it that way. You could also make it that it gets easier and easier, and it becomes lighter and lighter, and it just becomes more and more fun, and you feel more and more supported. Right? Because of course, your energy has a massive impact on what it is that you're creating. Does it create everything? No, because other people, they still have their own stuff, right? They're still doing their do, right? So, and of course, other people and people, investing in what you're offering perhaps as part of your manifestation process. So is there a reflection on you if one of your clients doesn't show up for a call? Is that part of your manifestation? No, it's part of theirs. It doesn't mean that you're wrong or bad if you've failed them or you've done something wrong, right? Or you're late or you've forgotten the call. It just means that people are people and they have their own stuff going on. So one of the things I think is really important is to really start asking, what's mine, right? What do I believe in? What do I value? What's important to me? What choice could I make in this moment that I actually feel more expanded, more open, more trusting? How can I focus my attention in the way that I want it to go? To feel good, to feel inspired. For me, I just, dripping in inspiration all day long. I just love communicating with the universe all day long. It's my jam, right? If I'm not sitting on a meditation cushion or I'm not showing up for my clients, I'm looking for inspiration. I'm looking for the universe to surprise and delight me or bring me information that broadens my awareness, creates a different perspective, takes me to a different level of consciousness. That is my constant place of seeking and wanting to know. Now, sometimes that has gotten me into a place where I'm like buying the next course or the next program. And I've just come to realize that, the best place is yourself, right? It is your own intuition. Your intuition will bring you the information, the awareness, the guidance. Sometimes it does come through other people, right? A coach, a healer, or a guide. But really, your truest point of reference in terms of what's going to bring you joy is always going to be your own heart. It's always going to be your soul-led desire if you allow yourself space to be able to create that and to drop into that more and more deeply every day. And this is why we want to become still, to dip into our desires. We want to create space because they're not in our mind. They're in our heart, they're in our soul, our deepest desires that bring us so much joy. But often life gets in the way, busyness gets in the way, and then we forget. We forget our deepest desires. We forget to take the time to be quiet, to be still, to be alone, and to tune in to our desires and start communing with the divine so the divine can show us what's going to light us up, what's going to expand our energy, what's going to make us feel good. And then it can even show us the action steps to take to create that. So my number one tip so far, folks, is to really get still and start asking some of those deeper questions. And again, people when they go get still, they often think, oh, that's meditation. This is actually about listening. So I'd encourage you to sit down and ask a question of the universe. Just say, hey, universe, show me more about what it is that I desire, and then get still. Put your hand on your heart, close your eyes, take some nice big deep breaths, get comfortable, and then listen. Maybe you'll find that you're listening to the birds, right? Or listening to your heartbeat, but listen. Okay, it's a slightly different than meditating, which is often where we're focusing on our breath and we're noticing our thoughts and then we're coming back to the breath. But when we're choosing to listen, we're kind of sending the universe a signal that, hey, I'm listening. I'm here listening to what it is that you are wanting to bring me. Now, this is the thing. It might not show up instantaneously. You might not get your answer sitting in, your chair being still, but you might get it when you're in the shower. You might get some inspiration when you are stopped at the traffic lights, where you have another moment of stillness, or a place where you're relaxed and open, because that's also required for your intuitive guidance to come through. And then you can start asking more questions about that. Maybe you get an idea or a vision for something that you would love to create or an experience that you would love to have. And then the next question is, show me the next step. What's the first action step to bring this to fruition? And then you might get a nudge, right, to contact somebody or to read a book or to find some information that supports you in the evolution of that. You might bump into somebody and start having a conversation with them, and they have like a little piece, a jigsaw piece, puzzle piece, a piece of the jigsaw, right, in terms of what it is that you're wanting to create. But being prepared to listen and to start asking those questions of tapping into what is it. Now, sometimes we have been so indoctrinated, and I know this was true for me once upon a time. I had no idea what really brings me happiness, what brings me joy. I had no idea. So it's a practice. Often if you're in that space, if you're burnt out, it is going to be very difficult to listen to your desires because you're going to feel like you're pushing. So in the first instance, you probably just need to rest and to come into a place of neutrality. I talked about neutrality previously on the podcast, and getting to a space where there's no pressure, right? There's no expectations. There's no do this, which is very directive, kind of pushy energy, as opposed to there's just spaciousness, there's calmness present, there's no need to do anything. There is just awareness, spaciousness, and choice. So it feels very relaxed. There's no tension being held in your body or in your energy field when you're neutral. So if you're burnt out, right, you need to come back to neutral in the first instance. You need to rest. You need to give yourself a break. You need to take the pressure off. You need to stop pushing yourself. And we can often do that when we're frightened, right? We can push and push harder still, because we've often learnt that that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to fight the good fight and climb the mountain and drive harder and dig deeper. A lot of this, we would call that masculine energy, like overcoming the obstacle no matter what, testing our strength and our limits to the nth degree. Especially for women, if you're operating from that energy consistently, you will burn out, because your feminine energy will be like, I do not like this. I am not loving it. I feel ignored. I'm not experiencing the pleasure that I would like to experience. So I'm going to let you know through your physical body that I'm not into this. So your adrenals tap out, you feel burnt out, you can't lift up a pencil, you can't write an email, you can't respond because you're just zapped. I've been there, I know what it feels like. It's kind of scary. But it's your body's way and your energy's way, your soul's way of saying something needs to change, something needs to shift. There needs to be more joy here. Instead of pushing, we want flow. Instead of feeling like we have to grab, we want to attract. But also too, that means putting effort and energy into feeling good. And the only way to do that is to start by becoming aware of what does make me feel good. And I think a lot of times people think that feeling good is a luxury, like it's like a facial or a pampering session that you get to feel good for like 2 hours on a Saturday morning and the rest of the time that you just have to suck it up. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about feeling good as much as possible and making it a consistent practice. And the only way to do that is to be very aware of how you're feeling all the time. What are some other ways that you can do this? Asking yourself. Again, I've mentioned putting an alarm on your phone, asking yourself how you're feeling when that alarm goes off. How am I feeling in this moment? Am I expanded? Am I contracted? Does my energy feel good? What choices am I making right now to make myself feel better? Would it take a huge amount of pressure off me if I did get a cleaner once every 2 weeks? How much would that increase my happiness? You know, if it's more than 50%, it's probably worth it. You know, and again, people kind of go, oh, you know, but that's expensive, etc. Think of it in terms of joy. You know, if it's, I don't know, $50 for a cleaner to come in and, you know, you skipped your cappuccino that you had every second day, it's a trade-off. Is it worth it in terms of how good it would feel to come home to a clean house, how good it feels to know that you don't have to worry about it, that it's been taken care of, and that you can just spend time with your family? You really want to look at how is it going to make me feel, and is it worth it to spend my money in that direction? And often this is what happens too. You really want to ask these questions about anything that you choose to spend money on, because people often spend money on things that are not actually really aligned with what's going to make them really feel good. They spend money on something, it's called consumerism, right? Materialism. We spend money on something hoping that it's going to bring us a feeling, a sensation, an experience of increased happiness. And then we obtain that thing. And then after a period of time, our happiness set point just goes back to normal. So remember that, folks. Your happiness will never increase or accumulate from the things that you have. We just kind of get it normalizes it, right? I have this and it's great. You know, I have this amazing car and it's great. It becomes normalized. It doesn't necessarily increase our happiness. Only we can do that. And the only way we can do that is by taking ownership of it and doing it on the micro level, which is moment to moment to moment, being in awareness. How am I feeling? Is there a thought that I can think right now that's going to make me feel better? I don't have to lie to myself, but I could train my mind to look for the next positive true thought, the highest feeling thought, and allow myself to focus on that rather than focus on what's not actually working for me. And I know the ego, the rational critical mind, can have a field day with this stuff, right? It can start going into a rant. You don't know what's happened to me. You don't know what my past experiences have been. You know, as an intuition coach, I would say, yeah, probably I do. Because not only have I had my own experiences, but I've worked with people where I've seen pretty much across the board all sorts of awfulness. But it's where you choose to place your attention. If you have trauma, it needs healing. If there's somebody in your life who remains unforgiven, there's forgiveness work to do. Not for them to let them off the hook, for yourself, so you can be free and clear and allow yourself to expand your energy. People don't understand, and I have to talk about this in another podcast, how forgiveness impacts your abundance. You can't truly be abundant and have all these grudges that you're holding against people. It's like a kink in your hose. It just doesn't work like that. True abundance is having forgiven everyone of everything ever. And I know when some people hear this, they're like, again, but you don't know what's happened to me. You don't know how this person has sexually assaulted me, raped me, threatened to kill me, beaten me up, verbally abusive, been a narcissist, whatever. Yes, you have what it takes to be able to forgive that person. I know sometimes hearing this, the ego can get really activated because it's like, but you don't know how painful it's been, or you don't know. And again, that's just the part of you that's actually looking to be seen and witnessed. And there's another part of you that needs to go to that part of yourself that's feeling upset and hold their hand. Let them know that they're safe. It's not happening anymore. It happened in the past. I hope it's not happening anymore. Because, this is not, disclaimer here. If you're in an abusive situation, please remove yourself. Go and get some help immediately. And you will know, right, by what's happening. And I know sometimes it's hard because there can be children involved in things like that, but there are resources out there. So maybe we'll post some under this podcast as well in regards to how to support yourself to get yourself out of really dangerous situations. But if there's somebody in your life that remains in a situation where they're, if they're still the perpetrator, the act of self-love is to remove yourself. The next act of self-love is to forgive them and yourself for having been in that circumstance in the first place. And again, in terms of abundance, this is huge. In terms of manifestation, we want to do everything that we can, because abundance isn't just about money, of course. It's about an energetic state, and that energetic state is open and expanded. And if you have people that you haven't forgiven, then that's going to create contraction. And again, people misunderstand a lot about forgiveness. They think that it's about, letting the other person off the hook, and it's not, because that person has their own karma. If they've been perpetuating behavior that is hurtful or harmful to others, they're actually hurting themselves through the law of one. The universal law of mentalism, everything is connected. So when we hurt somebody else, we know it because it's hurting us to hurt them. We know it on a deeper level, whether we're ignoring that and part of our consciousness or not. So to come back to that place where we're taking ownership for us, for our body, for our energy fields, for, what we are accountable for. And a lot of that is just about letting go of the shame, the guilt, the hurt, the pain, the suffering, the rage, the anger, so we can become clear. And when we're clear, it's easy to be open. When we're free and clear, it's easy to feel more relaxed. When we're more relaxed, it's easier for the flow of all good things to come into your life. I know we can go off on some tangents on these podcasts, folks, but again, to be in that space of coming back to choosing the things that bring you bliss or joy, how can you cultivate this as a habit? Developing the courage to let go of anywhere you're carrying other people's energy. If you guys, I did this on last week. So if you would like a process to clear other people's energy out of your energy field, you just need to go to Rebecca Davison. So that's REBECCA. Davison is DAVISON .life. www.rebeccadavison.life, LIFE. And then do /clearing -other. It should come up, clearing other people's energy out of your field. So it's got dashes in between, but if you bring up clearing -other, you should bring up, and we can post it in the show notes as well. It's a process, right? A free process. I think the whole video is about half an hour where you can literally clear other people's energy out of your energy field. Clear all the places where you have attachments to people in a not so great way. If you get triggered by somebody, if you get charged by somebody, often it's the case for people in our family or for ex-partners. Do that process to help you to energetically release the energy out of your body and energy field. You'll feel instantly lighter and more expanded, which is what we want to do when we're looking to create more flow, more ease, more grace in terms of our manifesting, and to be able to live in those energetic frequencies of abundance. So really starting to look, folks, at, again, the original question is, how much joy or bliss are we allowing into our lives? And maybe to start with, you're looking at, how good was the last week? Because then you can get intentional and go, what am I going to do this week that was better than last week? And going, what could I add to my week that would make me feel better? Now, for some people, it is creating time. And I love it when people say to me, I'm so busy, or I can't do that, or I've got children. Like I always talk about my client Ash, hi Ash, if you're listening. She's got 4 beautiful babies, and she just made it part of her daily practice. And she said initially it was not easy, but she just kept on showing up to it. Her morning practice, where she has eventually taught her children that this is how we start the day. And this is what it looks like. We have some quiet time. She maybe did some stretching, a little bit of yoga, did some journaling, and also taught her girls that this is what they can do for themselves as well, right? And she has very small children. So if she can do it, and she's got 4 children, right, you can do it as well, no matter how many children you have, how many or how little. It's about making it a priority. It's about choosing yourself and giving yourself permission to do something that's going to make you feel good. And that is the whole purpose of the exercise. We don't sit down and meditate so we can be more holy. We literally sit down and give time to ourselves so we can feel good. That's it in a nutshell. When you feel good, your energy expands. When you feel good, it's easier to receive. When you feel good, it's easier to manifest. When you feel good, life goes your way. When you feel good, other people feel good around you. It's simple. But it takes effort and consistency. And we want to really work that muscle where we're like, I'm going to choose more joy today. What does that look like? How can I implement that? How can I get my kids on board so they're choosing joy too? How can I get them to focus on it? Maybe it's your happy and gratefuls in the morning at breakfast. Maybe it's asking your kids at the end of today, what was great about today? I remember there was a woman, I can't remember who it was an author, who said that her father used to say to them at dinner time, what did you fail at today? And it wasn't for the purpose of, like beating the kids up. It was to let them know that it was safe to try new things. It was safe to try something different. And they were encouraged to do that. And if they failed, that was fine. It wasn't a problem. It was just that they were commended for trying something different, trying something out of their comfort zone. And she remembered that for her whole life. So starting to allow your awareness and your mind to see life slightly differently. So you can actually ask your questions like, if I don't really love my job right now, what can I do to make it better? How can I bring more joy into the office? How can I activate an energy where people are being a little kinder to each other? How can I, and again, maybe this is blessing other people in the office silently in your mind. Maybe it's starting to develop your intuition, which is what it was for me, where I was starting to tap in and go, I wonder what's up with that person. I wonder what's going on for them. I wonder what kind of, what's their body language or their vibe showing me about what's going on for them in their life. Starting to ask deeper questions to bring more awareness. And when you bring more awareness, to go, what energy can we bring to this space so it feels good? Maybe you could start blessing your workplace before you even get there. Maybe you could do something spontaneous and kind without any expectations in return, like bake some cookies and take them to work. Bring a box of muffins. Again, it doesn't have to cost money. It could be a silent prayer as you walk in the door that everybody has a great day, that everybody, no matter what they're dealing with, goes home feeling like they've accomplished something. It could be giving people the benefit of the doubt when they're grumpy. There's always a way to bring a higher vibration There's always a way, to bring more joy by concentrating on it, by focusing on it, by giving your attention to it. And people underestimate this, because often what happens is they'll go, oh, I'm not getting the reaction that I want, or oh, it's not paying off the way that I wanted it to, or what I'm wanting isn't showing up quick enough. You have to be willing to be the person who keeps on coming back to joy. One thing that I identified and realized about life was, at the end of the day, there's light, dark, there's good, bad, there's right, wrong, right? Not that we want to buy into any of that, but we live in a polarized planet, right? We have daytime, we have nighttime. So if it's just a choice to feel good or to feel bad, what are you going to choose? This is my philosophy notes 101. When you have those moments like, when I was like 15 and I spent 2 hours, I'm sure, thinking about, why is a fork called a fork? Right? Where you go off on those existential tangents, right? But really starting to look at it, like, if you have so much time on the planet and you can feel good or you can feel not so good, what are you going to choose? And how do you keep on choosing more of that, even when your circumstances are not dictating what you want, right? That's an act of faith, to keep on showing up and go, you know what? I'm just going to feel good for the sake of feeling good, even if what I'm wanting to create isn't here yet. Because you think about it, you feeling good is going to take you there quicker and faster than you feeling not so good. Can't really manifest what it is. What you want to manifest is big and amazing and incredible and mind-blowing in terms of its energy, and you're sitting there going, yeah, it's not showing up, it's not happening, and you're not feeling good about it, you're not an energetic match for it. You're not lined up with bringing it in. So your job is to feel good no matter what, and to make that commitment to yourself that you're going to choose the things that bring you more and more bliss, and starting to listen. One thing that I've really started to do as a business owner is started to look at really clearly and go, what is it that I love to do? And how do I do that? And do that only. Right? And I guess I'm fortunate enough in my business, right, where I can make those decisions in terms of, if there's something that I don't want to do in my business, I can afford to pay somebody else to do that for me, like upload a video or edit a video or, do that kind of stuff. But starting to think about, am I tempted to do something that I don't really want to do because I think that I should? Or I think that it'll save me money. Because what happens, right, if you end up doing that thing that you don't want to do, what does it do to your energy? Your energy is more important than making yourself do something that you don't want to do. Because then that impacts everything, right? That impacts your ability to show up and create more abundance, doing something that you really don't want to. Does this make sense, folks? In terms of, why would I sit down and make myself do something that I really don't want to do when I could go over here and do something that I love to do and create abundance from that space, rather than making myself sit down and actually collapse my energy field by contracting myself and doing something that I don't want to do. And I know it's really simple, but we do this all the time. All the time we're doing things that we don't really want to do. And I know often this shows up for parents, because parents might be sitting there listening and going, I do stuff all the time that I don't want to do, right? Like, I don't want to go and pick the kids up from school. How can you shift that? How can you do carpool or something? So you have an afternoon where maybe you have a little bit of extra time to yourself. And again, I see this often where people give their power away to time all the time. You have all these moments in your mind. That is where your creation process is taking place. It's not at, 7:30 when all the kids are in bed and you've got 10 minutes to yourself, because guess what? Your mind will say, I'll just have a glass of wine and watch some Netflix, as opposed to going, I can be in my moment-to-moment awareness, my moment-to-moment conscious state, redirecting my focus and energy all the time, rather than thinking that, I'll do that on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. What's more powerful? Your 15 minutes that you do it Saturday at 9 o'clock, or your moment-to-moment experience? You got it. Your moment-to-moment experience. Am I choosing bliss in this moment? Am I choosing to expand my energy? And am I choosing to honor myself by choosing the things that bring me more joy? What's something that you would love to do that you haven't allowed yourself because you've told yourself that you don't have enough time? I can't do that. Don't have enough time. Liar. Right? Have you ever noticed that you always, things that are important to you, they get done? So what does it take to make yourself a priority and go, you know what, maybe I've got 4 children, but I really want to go and do a jewelry making class. What's it going to take to make that happen? And this is where, again, the inertia can kick up. Oh, it's too hard. It's too much of an effort. I have to think. I have to get somebody to come in and look after the kids. I have to drive there. Again, it's our perception of what it would take. We want to diffuse the intensity. We want to focus on the joy that it's going to bring us so we can get ourselves there and actually enjoy it. And that's what we want to be focused on. We want to focus on how good it's going to feel to have that hour or that hour and a half doing something that is new and creative and fun, and an hour and a half away from the children and focusing on that and meeting new people and, coming up with a new design for a ring or a necklace or a pair of earrings. We want to be the people who give ourselves permission to have that experience. So then we can go home, wake up in the morning and feel inspired and delighted about being present to our children because we filled ourselves up. So again, the knock-on effect of you choosing your bliss too. If you have children, you want to demonstrate this to them. You want to show them, because you know what children are, right? They just mimic everything you do, right? They imprint it. They're like little sponges. So you want to imprint to them that it's safe, right, and good for them to choose themselves. You want to imprint to them that it's safe, right, and good for them to have the courage to do new things. You want to imprint to them that it's safe, right, and good for them to choose what makes them happy. And the only way you're going to really do that on a deeper subconscious level is for you to choose it yourself. So we need to often work through some archetypes, right, of being, self-sacrificing, sometimes being the martyr, being the person who's the saboteur, right, to let go of these kind of archetypes that we hold within us, the inner dialogue that sometimes is conscious and sometimes is very unconscious, to be able to give ourselves permission to make those kind of choices. When you are liberated, you really are liberating other people. You're giving other people permission to do the same. You're giving your partner permission to experience more joy. Your parents, your children, your extended family. When they see you all lit up like a Christmas tree, being the demonstration of what is possible, then you are actually helping to activate that within them. And this is really what the world needs, is it needs people who have come alive. So choosing to start thinking about how can I add more fun, more joy, more bliss. What do I love? What would I love to do? What's my bucket list? How can I actually just take a small action step and implement that? For somebody, they might get a lot of joy and expansion from just not cleaning their house, right? Other people might get a lot of joy and expansion for going for a bungee jump. Right? You will know what it is for you depending on where you are at in your life right now, but being willing to make those choices so you can experience more ease, so more energy can flow through you, so you can feel more relaxed, so you can actually feel like you're supporting yourself rather than going against yourself. And again, we get to practice this every single day and every single moment, because it's not just about doing something at work that feels good. It's about being consistent. Maybe it's starting to compliment people more. Maybe it's starting to be more aware of how other people are feeling and noticing that. Maybe it's being a better listener. There's so many ways, right, that we can create deeper connection and more joy. You're only ever limited by your imagination. But starting to focus on this and go, if I, like money wasn't an object and I had a blank slate, what would I choose to do? And a lot of people say, oh, I'd go traveling. But beyond that, right? What would you choose to do that you could actually monetize? Again, you can monetize traveling by being a photographer or a journalist or a blog writer, etc., or being a digital nomad. But, depending on what your circumstances are, starting to ask yourself some of those questions. What is it that I would allow myself to do? If you knew that you could not fail, what is it that you would choose for yourself? Maybe the implementable day-to-day reality of that is a modified version. Maybe it's 10 times more expanded, who knows? But we will only ever begin to create it when we start to allow ourselves to daydream, to imagine, to dream about it, to lean into it, to start thinking about our desires. A desire is really a call for creation, and those desires are waiting to come forth through you. That's what's going to light you up like that Christmas tree, make you feel all bright and shiny and glittery and sparkly by choosing to be the person who follows their own bliss. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please do come join us in the Facebook group. If you look up Intuitive Life Academy Creating Profit for Lightworkers, I'm wearing a green dress, the same as on the podcast cover. So do come and join us in the group. It's a free tribe and it's a great community in terms of other people who are looking to manifest, right? Looking to create abundance in their life and what that looks like for them, and to experience more bliss and more joy and how to calibrate to that more quickly and simple ways. And it's a great community. Everybody is amazing in there and I absolutely love it. So do come and join us in the tribe. We'd love to have you. In the meantime, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, share it with a friend if you found this information beneficial. I would really appreciate that. In the meantime, I'm sending you so much love and light. Until next week, lots of love. Bye for now. Thank you for joining the Intuitive Abundance podcast today. If you've enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe and write us a review so we can help other people positively impact their lives. I would really love that. If you're ready to activate the energy of abundance within you, then be sure to go to www.intuitivelifeacademy.com to sign up for our abundance activation process. Until next time, here's to your ever-increasing freedom. All my love. Bye for now.